Hello, my name is Dr. Nancy Stearns Tice, and I'm the Executive Director of the Oldham County History Center. What you're looking at is our campus that is west of the Courthouse Square in Grange, Kentucky. I would like to thank Kim Buckler of Oldham County Tourism for sponsoring these tours. Well, let's get started. The J.C. Barnett Library and Archives was once the home of James and Amanda Mount. This is a 2018 historical marker we've placed here that signify why this house is important. James Mount and Amanda Mount built this house in 1840. It's called a Kentucky Foursquare. This house is famous because of the family papers that include sales, escape attempts, and slave documents from this family. On the other side of the marker, you'll see that this house is also on the National Register and in 2016 placed in the National Park Service National Underground Railroad Network for rare slave court records. Let's take a walk inside. As you come the entrance of the building, you'll notice that we have the National Underground Railroad Network to Freedom marker issued by the National Park Service. This designates that a freedom seeker is a place where they either ran away from or sought refuge. In this case, this is where freedom seekers ran away from, and we have the court records from the owners to prove that. As you go in the door, you'll see our reception area because this house now serves as our library and archives. Hanging on the walls, you'll see pictures of people from the early 19th century. Some of these people are not related to James and Amanda, but they were some of the early pioneers that were here who were wealthy enough to afford oil paintings. As we go into this room, we've dedicated it, a portion of it, to look like what it may have looked like back when Amanda and James Mount lived here. In this closet are some artifacts from the 19th century. And over here, we do have one particular artifact from the Mount family that was given us from a Mount descendant. It's a plate. And then you'll see there's some papers in here that actually come from the Mount family papers on this desk. And over here, this picture was taken of this house probably the turn of the century with some of the Mount grandchildren and a daughter sitting on the porch. By the early 20th century, this house had started to become it was divided into apartments, and I have a lot of stories from people who lived here up through its acquisition by the Oldham County History Center in the 1990s. So today we have rare court documents from Oldham County's court records, and we have the James and Amanda Mount papers. So let's look and see how these documents that are very rare and were recognized by the National Park Service as significant to be placed on the National Underground Railroad Network. So from this notebook, from our vault, these are the papers from the Mounts. And we see two very interesting things. This paper, very simple, is a bounty hunter paper where Amanda Mount sent two bounty hunters to go after two slaves who are supposed to be in the service of the United States government. How could that have happened? Well, Abraham Lincoln, when he declared the Emancipation Proclamation, it did not apply to Kentucky because Kentucky was a slave-holding state, but he needed Kentucky in order to get down into the deep South. However, as the war progressed, he realized he needed more soldiers. So he said that any slave who ran away to join for the Union could become free. And guess what? A lot of people started going to these muster-in sites, one of which was in Louisville, and another very famous one became Camp Nelson which is in central Kentucky. Here's another bounty hunter document to William Bennett. And in this, he is paid for taking a runaway Negro soldier to Louisville from Grange. So this man got caught. Another interesting document from Amanda Mount is this paper which shows it's a transfer of property. And in this case, the property is a slave named George, of which she paid $1,200 to a man named Jonathan Gibson. And the most incredible thing is in the center of this document, you'll see the man George is a slave for life and is bound in body and mind, which is a ridiculous thing to say about any human. But it shows you how people were regarded during this very unusual period of American history. One of the things is that James Mount served as a jailer, and as a jailer, his responsibility was to capture runaway slaves. In this instance, you see two documents taken from newspaper ads where he had caught two different slaves. One was a woman and her child, another was a man. If the person did not show up to claim their slave, then they could be auctioned at the courthouse door, which at that time would have been in Grange. Last but not least, this shows you Camp Nelson today, which is in the central Kentucky area. It's now going to be a national park, and Camp Nelson has some amazing stories of the soldiers who mustered in there as slaves. And it also has a national cemetery, and when you go to that cemetery up on the hill, there's graves of soldiers from the Civil War to visit. So thanks today for coming to visit the J.C. Barnett Library and Archives. I look forward to another tour with you at the Oldham County History Center.